It's Dr. Ray Burns here with Lucas Oil Products, and I'm here today to talk to you about viscosity. What exactly is viscosity? Most people, when they think of it, they think how thick or how thin a fluid is. And that's a pretty good analogy, but in the laboratory, we can't measure thick and thin. We need to bring it down to something more physical that we can measure. Mathematically, viscosity is really just the ratio of how much force it takes to move a fluid over a specific period of time. We call that the shear stress divided by the shear rate. And that breaks down into things we can actually measure in the lab: force and time. To make that concept a little bit more clear, I've got an easy demonstration that anybody can do at home. This would be a great science fair project for kids. In this syringe, I have just plain water. In this syringe, I have a mineral oil mixed with a polymer solution. But this is going to kind of show you the trade-off between force and time as it relates to viscosity. I'm going to push both of these into the beaker as hard as I can, and you'll see that one that is higher in viscosity, the mineral oil and polymer, takes substantially longer to push than the plain water. So, thick and thin. What does that actually mean though when it comes to your car? Well, we've all seen these quarts of motor oil with these numbers on the front. But what do they mean? The viscosity grade specifications are written by the Society of Automotive Engineers, SAE, in their specification J300. There's really two parts to it. The first number, 5W, relates to the viscosity of the fluid when the temperature is cold. Viscosity, as we've all probably noticed, is very sensitive to temperature. Take maple syrup, for example. If you put it in the refrigerator, its viscosity increases or it seems thicker. You put it in the microwave to pour over pancakes and it gets a lot thinner. So at cold temperatures, we're worried about the first number. 5 W's, the W in this case means winter, so signifying cold. Way that the oil is formulated, the molecules that are in the base oil actually can begin to move and align as they go through the solution. And as you cool them down slowly, they can actually form crystals and form almost like a gel network in your fluid. And that's a problem if you park your car over the weekend in northern Minnesota and then come back on Monday to start it and it won't start, or you've got a problem pulling oil from the oil sump all the way to the top. The 40 measures the viscosity at high temperature. So which should you pick? How do you know which one to choose? Well, most auto builders are going to pick a viscosity and design their engine with a viscosity grade in mind. Some of that is driven by engineering requirements. Some of it's driven by supply chain and just ease of accessibility to a fluid in a given market where they're selling a vehicle. It's always a good idea to use the viscosity grade recommended by your auto builder, but it's not always required. If, for example, your auto builder is building a car that they're selling globally, that car has to work both in Arizona in the summer and in Minnesota in the winter. And it might not be the best idea to use the same viscosity grade in both. It really depends on your driving style and the exact environment that you're in. So maybe you want to use a 5W-30 in Arizona, and maybe you want to use a 0W-30 or 0W-20 in Minnesota. It all depends on balancing durability and energy efficiency. If we take it back to that first principle that we talked about, the amount of force required to move a fluid over a given amount of time, fluids that have a lower viscosity take less force to move out of the way or to move through your engine. So by its very nature, lower viscosity fluids tend to give you better fuel economy because they take less energy from your engine to move through and around the engine. Under heavy loads, lower viscosity fluids can sometimes not perform as well as higher viscosity fluids. Exactly on the other hand, high viscosity fluids tend to take more force and energy to move, so they can sometimes show less performance and fuel economy because of the amount of force they're taking from the engine to move themselves through the contacts. At the same token, they're harder to flow out of a contact, so they tend to give you better film protection under heavy loads. So think of that next time you go to the store to select your motor oil. Which side of the equation are you on? It's a balancing act. If you're not sure, it's always a good idea to follow your OEM's recommendation or a motor oil nerd like me. I'm Dr. Ray Burns with Lucas Oil Products, and remember, the proof is in the product.